Oh, hey, what's up? As you can see right in front of me, we have the PS3 collection of Infamous, which, as you can see advertised, it has 2 full games and Infamous Festival of Blood. The 2 full games pretty much Infamous 1 and 2. And as you can see from the back, experience the legend of Cole McGrath, which pretty much, as you saw from the cover, Cole McGrath. This is pretty much his story, his trilogy, so to speak. And as you can see right here, now, I finally have beaten this game, sort of like close to the end of the year. I've been playing it on and off, but after completing all three, I finally want to do sort of like an overview, or pretty much, if you're like me, you probably got a lot of video games, and you probably either have played them or probably played a little bit of them. For me, my case, I have a lot of games, and unfortunately, I don't always have time to play them. I finally actually started playing them, and I've beaten some games, and to produce more content, I decided, you know what, play the game, do a review, so that way I can, make more videos for you guys. So anyway, as you can see, Infamous 1, Infamous 2, and here's the Festival of Blood. Now, in Infamous 1, that's where you pretty much is introduced to Cole McGrath. Cole McGrath is pretty much an errand boy. He is a independent contractor that will, if you got the money and you got something that needs to be delivered ASAP, he is the guy to call. He will make sure your package go from A to B, no problem. His specialty, though, is parkour. And what that means is pretty much he is not afraid whether to walk, run, climb, jump, use anything as levers. I mean, like street poles, stop signs, buildings, anything he can to pretty much deliver the package to its destination. Now, one peculiar day, though, he had a job where he had to deliver this specific item, but the problem was there was no sender, which is odd for him, but he took the job anyway. And this happened in Empire City, where he delivered to his destination, and that's when he was informed to open the package, only to discover the item was practically ready to explode. It was practically a bomb, and it did just that. It exploded. This caused a major causality. A lot of people died. Buildings were disrupted. It was a very, very, very bad day for everyone. And surprisingly enough, Cole McGrath, who was right there in the center of it all, survived. So this bomb didn't just not kill him, it endowed him with powers. Where when he was in the hospital, he started noticing that, I have electrical abilities. Well, pretty much electricity coming out of my body. And it was very odd and weird for him, but over time he started, in a way, coping with it. Now, the setup of Infamous is, Empire City is pretty much, it's pretty much fucked. It's not apocalyptic, but it's very, in a sense, screwed up, because ever since that explosion, that bomb, it unleashed different gangs, because this bomb didn't just kill people, but for some people, it changed their genetics. It changed their abilities. Some of them, which pretty much labeled them as conduits, technically, but in the eyes of the public, they are freaks, or pretty much super freaks. So, yeah. What's interesting, though, is in the world of Infamous, you can play Cole as a hero or as a villain. Well, when I say villain, not the villain like Marty Skrull, I mean like a villain where he's pretty much evil or practically an asshole. That's the best way I can say it. And it's I like the fact that Sucker Punch gave the players the ability to do that. You can play the game through its main story, but there's a lot of side quests that will be very beneficial to unlocking some powers for Cole to have and to learn. And like I said, you have to choose your option wisely, because the way you play the game does affect how the gameplay is. Meaning that if you play the game more on the side of good, being a hero, the people, the crowd, they will treat you like a hero. They will cheer for you. They'll want to take pictures. They'll point out some problems, or they'll let you know, hey, this is going on. You need to get there quick, or any of those sources. And if you're in a battle with an enemy and people are around, they will pretty much do their best to help you. They'll be throwing rocks at the enemy. They'll even join in the fight. So that's kind of cool. If you play more on the evil side, the same people, instead, they will either fear you or hate you. Meaning that instead of coming up to you, cheering for you, they will boo you. They'll try to disrupt your destination. They'll be throwing rocks at you. If you're in a battle with an enemy, even though that enemy is also their enemy, they will try their best to take you out first. Then worry about the other guy. And it makes the gameplay not harder, but more annoying. So, in this term, the whole premise of the Infamous 1 game is Cole McGrath is trying to find out who that sender was and what was the whole deal of why he was specifically chosen to do it. It's not like one of those, oh, I had a lot of money and I hired you and that was that. No, throughout the gameplay you start discovering that you were specifically chosen to do this, and you're trying to find out why, and you're trying to find out who that sender is and why all this bad things is happening. So, yeah, it's actually quite good. The cons of Infamous 1 is that because it's an open world, it's very repetitive, and the saving system sucks. I mean, you can actually, even if you have the automatic save on, if you do certain side quests or side missions, even though they could be easy, they could be normal, or some of them are hard, when you complete like the hard ones, or in my case the annoying ones, you will, once you complete it, you will go off and start doing other things or whatever, thinking that the game saved it. And then you turn it off, you go to sleep or you go to work, whatever. When you come back to playing that game and discover that the game was not saved, you had to do it over again. Yeah, it's bad. But that was Infamous 1. Now in Infamous 2, it's pretty much a continuation of Infamous 1, where Cole discovered at the end of Infamous 1 the whole ordeal of him going through what he went through, the losses or the gains or, all this crap that's been going on was specifically a training day. Well, not really a training day, but pretty much to train him, to get him ready for an entity known as the Beast. Because this Beast pretty much is the end-all be-all, the way the Infamous 2 sort of wrote him up, and how this being can pretty much destroy everything. And you are pretty much being trained to get yourself mentally and physically ready to go one-on-one, to have a showdown. Now, what's interesting though is in Infamous 2, you pretty much face the Beast in the beginning, only to be seen and to experience, yeah, Cole needs to, definitely needs some upgrade, definitely needs some new abilities. So he ends up going back to the basic. He went back to New Marais, which is pretty much like New Orleans. And you also discover that that's where Cole started his parkour abilities, started being more reliant on his, more self-reliant on his body and himself. So by going back to New Marais, now remember how I explained about this bomb created other beings and stuff? Well, it's not just there. They obviously travel. In New Marais, Cole is greeted by a human militia where they are pretty much, their goal is to wipe out all freaks or super freaks, because they look at them as abomination of mankind, which, yeah, it's one of those plot where it's like the main leader is all about, oh, this is by the words of God, I am doing God's work, which is quite interesting. So, in other words, the game sort of has two bosses, so to speak. So, the reason why you went to New Marais is because that's where a scientist had developed a mechanism that might give Cole the advantage of taking out the Beast. Now, again, Infamous 2 is an open world, and it carries the same aspects as Infamous 1, where you can play as a good, a hero, or an evil, like a villain. And again, the same aspect is how the people treat you is the same as Infamous 1. Only difference is some of the people from in Infamous 2 came from Infamous 1, so how your action was in Infamous 1 actually carried through in Infamous 2. And I actually think that's kind of cool. And pretty much what even made this game even more interesting is the fact that not only did their save system a lot better, but when you actually meet the beast, close to the end of the game, you have the option of either fighting the beast or joining him. And I think that's actually pretty cool. So, yeah. So, that's Infamous 2. Now, Infamous Festival of Blood, you can definitely tell this was a DLC game. This set in Numere once again, and the map is still the same as Infamous 2. Only difference is it's more like a Halloween aspect. And the story of the Festival of Blood is Cole revived a vampire who bit him and made him a vampire, like as if he's not powerful enough. And what's in my mind, it's like they don't have that morale system where you can play him as a good guy or an evil guy. In a way they do. It depends on how your interaction with the people are. Because now you got vampiric powers, you have the choice of either using these innocent bystanders and suck their blood, which will make you evil and also upgrade your vampiric powers, or you just go on defeating the other vampire packs and just use blood vials as a way of regenerating yourself, which will make you more good. And what I think kind of fall flat for me is the fact that the powers that you gain throughout Infamous 2, you don't keep, which I understand, but you do have to work your butt to get them back again, and they're just renamed more of a vampiric naming, which I think is stupid. And the game is very short, which is great. It's a godsend, because to me it was like meh. But as a whole, this collection, I highly recommend you, if you already have it, play it. If you don't have it but you're seeking out a good game, it's like I said, all three games, open world. The con is like every other con for open world game, the repetitiveness. But in and the save system in Festival of Blood is so. So yeah, there you have it. Highly recommend you guys checking it out, and yeah, later.